Gavin Newsom, who's really an incompetent governor. We saved Los Angeles by having the military go in. He sued us for going in and for helping him. We went and helped him. Right now, you'd have Los Angeles burning to the ground.
He's a flim-flammer. He's a bullshit artist. And he's one of the best bullshit artists that has ever practiced the presidency.
He is good at it.
But he's good at it.
A war of words erupting between President Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom after a federal appeals court unanimously ruled that Trump can keep control of the National Guard troops he sent to Los Angeles to help stop the anti-ICE riots. This comes as Democrats and the media work overtime to try and stir fear up around ICE's deportation efforts. And unfortunately, I regret to inform you, there was singing.
We won't let you take our democracy down.
We have ICE federal agents pulling up, terrorizing our communities, hopping out of unmarked vans, stealing and, yes, kidnapping people, not giving them their day in court, and, yes, human trafficking them to other nations.
You're under arrest. What for? I don't know. Have you been a bad boy? This is what it looks like to live in a police state.
If I was a prosecutor, the top prosecutor in my state, if I had a criminal statute that met the facts, I would use it.
Alrighty, I must point out that none of these people had anything to say when people were being ticketed and arrested for having barbecues with more than 10 people back in 2020. That's a little old saw of mine. Kayleigh, what do you make of the Biden-appointed judge on this Ninth Circuit panel ruling against Newsom and what that means? Will he take this beyond?
He's doing his job, and I want to commend that Biden judge for following the law and following the facts, which is what a judge should do. Stephen Miller made the point, we do not have, 871, I guess that's the number of federal court judges, many commanders-in-chief in this country. But you had Judge Breyer at the district level who thought he was a mini commander-in-chief. He compared Trump to King George. He talked about the harm that would be done by National Guard on the ground. That's not what a judge is supposed to do. You're not an executive. For this Biden judge to side with the two Trump judges and say we are deferential to the commander-in-chief on the National Guard and here are the limits, that was a morally courageous thing to do. It was an intellectually honest thing to do, and good for him.
It also doesn't bode well for this case moving forward. Do you think Gavin Newsom will attempt to take this L and turn it into a W at the Supreme Court or at another level?
He could, but he'll lose. It was a big blow for Gavin at the Ninth Circuit. He didn't get home cooking. And it's a big blow for all of the dictator hoax panicants. This thing is obvious. Donald Trump reached into California, grabbed Gavin's guard, used it to protect the people that Gavin couldn't protect himself. And what did Gavin do? He whined about it and sued. And everybody said there's going to be great politics for him. Oh, my God, his numbers. I looked at his numbers. He went up in the Democrat primary from 4 points to 8 points. He's still 30 points behind Harris. So it did nothing. And then you have this other guy, Frost, who says there's trafficking. Oh, they didn't care when there were people getting trafficked into the country. They're upset that they're getting trafficked home. And then Swalwell. Notice his solution. His solution, Mary Catherine Ham, is to sue. Padilla's, to use Greg's pronunciation, solution is to get arrested. Gavin's is to sue and indict. It's like lawfare all over again. That's all they have is a prison fetish. I want these politicians to go back to the good old days where they just get drunk together, sleep with interns, and go to fish fries. Is that too much to ask?
I think they're still doing that.
They are?
Yes, they probably are.
Yeah.
The fish fries?
The good old days are with us. Jessica, we have seen fighting in the courts, fighting in the streets, and now in song. What of this is working?
The songs have never worked, starting with the original Doge quartet that was outside the Department of Education. I'm not into singing, but you have seen this. Jesse said, look at the numbers, and it's manifesting in the numbers. So Gavin's personal aspirations of becoming president, we'll see how that shakes out in the primary, but our favorite Harry Enton, who gives the most enthusiastic reads of the big board, said Trump has lost the political battle when it comes to what's happening in LA. He's minus 15 overall on how he's handling it and minus 24 with independents. Pew has new polling out, 49% saying he's gone too far and 54% say that they disapprove of the workplace rates. And we know that he's also underwater on immigration in our own polling, minus 7 there. So when we say the people don't like this, they don't like it. That doesn't mean that Democrats aren't still unpopular. That doesn't mean, I don't know, if the election was held again today, Donald Trump might very well win again if it was
he will.
Yep.
He
would.
I'm just saying that you can't deny the fact that the direction, and Greg, you always say, directionally, where are we going? Directionally, it has been heading in the negative direction on every single major indicator of success for a president.
Not NBC,
economy,
majority sport.
51 to 49,
I don't
Kaylee.
know why-
You cherry-picked that poll, and earlier this week we did it as well.
+2,
Talk about our own
Jessica.
poll.
We don't have the Jimmy Carter lows that Biden had.
Fox News poll, AP.
But here's the problem, Jessica. If Trump continues to show declines, or the GOP does, and the Democrats don't pick up any of that, what's the solution?
Well, in special elections,
Don't
we have
ask
been-
Democrats for solutions. How dare you?
Well, my last question goes to you, Greg.
Yeah.
Are you
So-
excited about vacation?
Well, it
You
is.
saw the guitar playing. Where is Bluto Blutarski when we need him?
You know, if you ever want to know who doesn't have friends, wait till they sing in public, because friends don't let friends
Truly.
sing in public. Somebody should have been there and said, dude, don't do it. You know, even when we feel strongly about the victims of illegal crime, like people that have been raped and murdered, we don't sing because it's not about us. We don't turn people's suffering into some high drama moment or some fake cry at a hearing. That is false empathy. There's no drama and no theater where we come from. It's just, but on the Democrat side, it's all these creeps that disguise their self-serving virtue signaling as compassion. They do it with Palestine. They did it with BLM. Now they're doing it with illegals. If a black man gets shot by a cop this weekend, they will drop the illegals like a bad habit and move right on. Meanwhile, the legal immigrants, they support Trump on this. You know, they maybe because they're closer to this issue than these cosplaying activists are who just leave to go to their next thing. You know, the actual immigrant has to deal. They don't have the luxury of living somewhere else. They have to deal with the crime. They have to deal with the hotels that are filled with illegals. Did you see that another $1 billion in New York to go house illegals?
Oh, great.
Right. Just ask. Oh, by the way, let me finish, and then I'm going to shut up. You should get more of me since I'm going to be gone next week. You know, we have the lowest murder rate in this country in 50 years. That's after the self-deportation that exceeded 1 million, mostly men, a lot of them criminals. And what does New York do? Let's keep illegals in the hotels, a disincentive for leaving. So what the hell? I think things are working unless somehow Democrats don't want it to work.
Well, the mayoral race may decide some of that in the future. Up next, the fastest.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.